Hello everyone, my name is Doofy, and in today's video we'll be ranking every battle shonen that I have read or watched. But before we get to the tier list, I wanted to thank you all so kindly for getting me to 600 subscribers. This is a milestone I never thought that I would get to, so to actually achieve it is... it's awesome. So thank you all. And so to celebrate, I think we should all go stream the newest and debut album from my band, My Dead Friends, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and any other major streaming platform. Links in the description. But with that out of the way, let's actually get into this tier list. But first, a quick definition of what I mean by battle shonen. So for an anime or manga to qualify as a battle shonen, its source material has to be a manga that ran in a shonen magazine. And a shonen magazine, of course, is a magazine directed at a younger male audience, particularly between the ages of 12 and 18. This is the definition of a shonen. So a battle shonen, then, is any manga with those criteria that use battles to overcome obstacles or conflict, or generally is an action series. And so taken together, that's a battle shonen, and with those criteria, I've identified 45 anime manga out of my 550 total anime manga that I've ever seen. And we're going to be ranking them, so let's just get right into it. Starting off, we have Attack on Titan, which I'm going to be giving an A. I mean, Attack on Titan is fucking awesome. The anime is in my top 10. The manga probably falls short of that simply because I think there are a lot other manga that I enjoy that aren't animated. What I love about Attack on Titan, first and foremost, is its world building and the foreshadowing. I mean, let's face it, we all recognize that Attack on Titan is like the master of foreshadowing in many regards. Just its ability to really put the seeds of later events in much earlier on, and I think the writing there is very subtle, and it's really not obvious until you go through it again, how exactly it was foreshadowed and how it was built up. So I really appreciate that. I really do just love the world building. I love the idea of the Titans, their history and their lore. I think it's very rich, and that's always what's been keeping me engaged. I will say, as I mentioned before, it's really the character cast that holds us back from going up any higher. I really like, Eren after the time skip. I like Reiner a lot. I like Zeke. I really like Hanji. There are some good characters in Attack on Titan, but I just think that generally its character cast isn't up to par. And because of that, there aren't a lot of moments where I find myself moved emotionally. Because the characters aren't super well written, in my opinion, they don't have the same attachment with me as I do with other series. And so when a certain character dies, I'm not necessarily moved. And for me, characters and, high emotional moments are some of the biggest things for me in liking an anime or manga. And so, for those reasons, Attack on Titan just falls short of the S category, but that's not to undermine how well written I think it is. It is a great story, and it is certainly an A as far as I'm concerned. Next we have Barrage, which is the original manga by My Hero Academia's mangaka. It's a 2-volume little adventure, and honestly, it kind of womps. I'm going to put that in a D tier, sorry, not an F tier. There's not much holding it between, the D and the F, but I have such basic battle shonen sympathies that even the most mediocre battle shonen are going to at least pass the vibe check and enter into that D category. Don't get me wrong, there are some things I like about Barrage. I mean, the whole setup is kind of cool. The prince of this area kind of runs off, and so the Royal Guard are out looking for him. And they stumble across a protag who looks strikingly familiar to the prince. And so they bring him back to the castle, thinking that he is the prince. And they dress him, and then he takes on the role. But what's interesting to me is that we find out that they all kind of just knew that he wasn't the prince because of just how different he was acting. But they kind of they really wanted this to actually be the prince because he had more respectable qualities than the actual prince, who was a little more cowardice, I do believe. And so I don't know, I thought that was just a cool little thing. But it's really, the narrative isn't great. The characters are not very strong. This is a D by every stretch of the imagination. But it's not a D. Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad, which is going to be the first S on this list. I mean, I've talked about it time and time again. I love Beck. I love the cast of characters. I love the whole concept and setup. For me, just a really solid manga that follows the kind of birth and the trajectory of a band. It's, the origins of all the characters, them coming together, them trying to produce music, the inter-band dramas that surround, just their own personal lives, the dramas between the members, and how that kind of comes out and is resolved, but is also amplified by the music. And just seeing their journey as a band, going from, struggling to get a record deal, struggling to, fill an audience, or to fill a stage, getting fucked over time and time again because of conflicts between band members and people in the industry, but then seeing them triumph regardless of all the obstacles put up against them, and seeing them go from like these little stages and arenas and kind of getting bigger and bigger showings and getting more and more albums and doing better and better. It's to me, this is everything that I ever wanted in a manga, because I love music. That's why I made a band myself, and I think that Beck does a great job really painting an accurate depiction of band life. You know, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. There is a massive struggle to even just getting some kind of label signing, to even just producing an album independently, how difficult that is. I really think that the mangaka had a solid grasp of the difficulties that band members have, and how the difficulties of the industry itself can cause tension within the band, and how that manifests in their relations with one another. This is a fucking masterful manga. I don't have enough good things to say about Beck Mongolian Chop Squad. Do yourself a favor and give it a read. It's something that I couldn't recommend enough. Then we have Black Butler, which is a manga I always forget is technically a shonen. To me, it just so obviously appeals to a female demographic, but it is very much published in a shonen magazine, so it meets that criteria. Now I might get a little bit of shit for this. I've only watched the Black Butler anime. I've watched season 1, season 2, and the Book of Circus, and I honestly really enjoyed Black Butler all around. I love Sebastian's dynamic with Ciel. I love how overzealous he is. I love his posh British accent. I don't know, there's just so much to love about Sebastian for me. I also love just the whole notion that he's actually a demon, the demon butler. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of substance for me to comment on, because, this is a Black Butler. It's very wonderfully animated. The Book of Circus was actually something I found surprisingly entertaining, just to see, how they animate all the acrobatics of Sebastian as he's trying to enter that circus, because they need to infiltrate some demon sting operation. I don't know, Black Butler. It's actually pretty solid all around, and I'm gonna initially put it in C. I know that's kind of controversial. Motherfuckers love to clown on Black Butler, but honestly, I don't know. I totally understand the hatred. Part of me just thinks people like to clown on this because, they're trying to overcompensate. They have to be the super manly man, and Black Butler is very much not the super manly man kind of manga, so I need to hate on it and clown on it. But not Doofy. Doofy's in touch with his feminine side, and he fucks around with a bit of Black Butler. What can I say, man? Sebastian is a good-looking guy. I just call him as I see him. Next, we have Black Cat, which was actually crucial in my kind of formative years for developing my taste in manga. This was a manga that I got into very early on. This might even be one of the first individual volumes of manga that I ever purchased on the recommendation of a friend from high school. And it is just a generally solid battle shonen. I did a whole segment on this in my drunk manga recommendations, and I just love, again, how it gets really into the action. It doesn't mess around. It just gets straight to the point. I do like that. The whole setup with Train and Sven being bounty hunters, and the whole notion of bounty hunters I find to be rather interesting. But then also just kind of tracing this kind of conflict between Train, who has kind of exfilled, we might say, from a criminal organization, Cronus, and just seeing the bounty hunters come into contact with Cronus, and then kind of filling out Train's past, I think is great. Train overall is actually a fantastic shonen protag, and one that I certainly don't talk enough about. But with all that said, how does Black Cat fare against these other manga here? Well, I'm going to initially place it on the high C, and it might eventually get promoted to a low B. It's definitely, I want to say, rather clear of Black Butler by and large, but I don't know. I never did finish Black Cat, by the way. I only got like 7-8 volumes into it, and it was a fantastic read. And I did watch the anime as well, which was great, despite the filler ending. But I don't know. I think a C is fine. Then we have Black Torch, which was just a really overall forgettable kind of read. I'm going to put it in high D above Barrage, though, because I do feel like it's a little more refined than Barrage. Jiro is a ninja training with his grandfather, but he's super sympathetic towards animals, and so he sees this animal once, and it actually turns out to be like a yokai or something, and it fuses with him, and he becomes cool fucking demon hunter or something, and this demon organization comes to him, and they're like, oh, we gotta kill all the demons, or you're actually suspect because you're a ninja and there's a demon in you, and we gotta kill you, but actually your powers are really useful, so it's easy to kill a yokai or something. It's honestly not great. The art's actually pretty solid. I like it more than Barrage's. The concept's actually pretty lame, too. Geez, should I put Barrage higher than Black Torch? Because the thing is, like, at least with Barrage, I think, like, there are some cool ideas in there that I actually like. Again, the whole idea of them mistaking this homeless person for the prince, and then just kind of realizing, but hoping that he is the prince, or hoping that or just kind of holding on to some hope that it could be the prince and he's just changed. I like that. I think it's a really cool idea. Black Torch doesn't have any really cool ideas, to be honest, as far as I can tell. But I think overall Black Torch is just a more refined piece of battle shonen. So these two honestly are neck and neck, and I'm just barely going to put Black Torch over it, but I think honestly if I thought any more about it, Barrage might kind of take the lead there. Next we're going with Bleach, which is going to be the next S on my tier list. So I think for one, I did just finish Bleach, and let me just say that the 1,000 Year Blood War arc fucking blew my mind. I know people like to be critical of the ending because of how rushed it was, and this of course is explained by the fact that Kubo was sick, and so because he was sick, that was translating into a loss of quality, and so that was translating to a loss of sales, or a loss of reputation in the polls, and because of all that, Shonen Jump was like, alright, come on Kubo, hurry this up. All that said, I am personally of the opinion that it takes a lot longer for 1,000 Year Blood War arc to get bad. I mean, seriously, it's probably only in the last 10, 12 chapters that I think there's a substantial, there's any real issues to be found. At least any substantially at least any, like, enjoyment hindering issues. Because let me tell you, before that, the amount of hype fucking moments in the 1,000 Year Blood War arc, it's unparalleled. And I mean, this is probably one of the strongest starts to any arc I've ever read, or watched for that matter. The fucking invasion of the Quincy's into the Soul Society, the fucking damage that they do. Fucking we see Byakuya absolutely smacked. We see Hitsugaya absolutely smacked. We see Soifon absolutely smacked. And then all the captains are just fucking dropping like flies. It's insane. And the intensity of the situation, it's so severe that fucking Yamamoto had to leave the head captain corridors, and he said, I'm putting a fucking end to this right now. And then he comes across Yuha, and he's like, I should have killed you 100,000 trillion million years ago, because everyone in the Soul Society is 1 billion years old. And then Yawich is like, or Yahweh, what the fuck's his name? Yahweh? Oh god, I fucking hate it. It's definitely not Yahweh, it's probably Yuha. I think it's Yuha? It's probably Yuha. Anyways, Yuha and Yamamoto have probably one of the craziest fights in the whole series, and this is going to be the most fire thing ever in the anime. And it's so fucking hype. Just seeing Yamamoto finally use his Bankai, that shit was crazy. He was going all out against fucking Yuha. And then Yuha's like, psych, it wasn't even me. And then Yuha absolutely fucking decimates Yamamoto, slices him in half. That's it. That was, to me, one of the, I don't know, to me, the fact that a manga could translate so much excitement is fucking unheard of. Manga, for me, have a difficult time translating that same kind of energy, but just the chills down my spine watching Yuha versus Yamamoto were fucking insane, and seeing all the captains drop like flies. And the level of this was much more severe than the Ronkar, when fucking Aizen was just snapping like that on the captains. That was badass, don't get me wrong, that's why the Ronkar is my second favorite arc in Bleach. But man, the Quincy's, there was just an aura about them that was even more menacing, because they almost seemed to have Aizen level power, but just in much bigger numbers. And that's literally just like one moment in like all of Bleach that was hype. There's a trillion others, and just I hope you can see that just in my retelling of that moment, the excitement that I had, that is an indication of how engaged I was with Bleach. And I think a large part of that is simply because, yes, I think Bleach has a problem with characters in the sense that Kubo has this tendency to oversaturate his narrative with characters, not just in the sense of introducing new characters, but bringing back old ones. I think one issue with the 1,000 Year Blood War arc is that he just wanted to bring back everybody. He brought back all the Fillbringers, and in my opinion, they didn't need to come back, or they could have played more meaningful roles. During the last 10 chapters, we also see he brings back Kashin and Uryu's dad, and seemingly portrayed as like this kind of final solution to the problem of Yahweh, or Yawich, Yuha, I think. Fuck, man. They're introduced almost as like a final solution to that problem, and they literally do nothing. And again, like a Ronkar, the Privrone Espada, fucking a waste of like 10 chapters. Just simply, we did not need any of that. And there's honestly a lot of the Quincy's and their fights that I thought in the 1,000 Year Blood War arc that we did not need. All that aside, I think that the characters that work really well. For me, this series is all about the captains, man. Just developing, finding out about the past of the captains, their relations with one another, learning more about their powers, their Bankai, their Shikai, their role in the history of the Soul Society. To me, this is just so like exuberating. There's just so much to dig your teeth into, and I love like almost all of the captains for different reasons. And I just think because characters mean so much to me, Bleach really does hit it home. And honestly, I love the narrative. I thought that The 1,000 Year Blood arc was amazing. I thought the Fullbring arc was amazing. I actually think that every arc in Bleach is fucking amazing. I know it's been charged with being repetitive at times, but like, bro, if you want to start abstracting and boiling down narrative patterns, there's like fucking 7 you could possibly choose. So then we're going to have to charge every single battle shonen with using the same narrative pattern and call all of them repetitive. Some already do that. I think that if you abstract so far, you're going to find commonality, but that's not actually a genuine reflection of what's going on in each of these stories. That aside, I don't think Bleach is that repetitive. I think that it does reuse certain tropes. I don't think that's necessarily repetitive. I think that's effective writing at times, if anything. So the characters in Bleach, fucking awesome. I love the power system in Bleach. I don't think it's as well worked out as, say, the Nen system in Hunter x Hunter. I don't even think it's as well worked out as the chakra system in Naruto. But I do think that it's just really exciting. I mean, at bare minimum, we see a motherfucker go Bankai, and I'm going nuts. I'm screaming. I'm going crazy. Bankai is just so fucking cool to me. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to say about Bleach. I think it has a fantastic cast of characters. I think the arcs are amazing, and even though it does have some pretty notable low points, the highs are, in my opinion, some of the highest in all of the genre. And for those reasons, and I'm sure I could go on a lot longer, Bleach is an S tier, and it's above Attack on Titan. Because sure, could I point to more conventionally admirable traits in Attack on Titan over Bleach? Perhaps. But I just think that Bleach was able to create a more engaging connection with its reader than Attack on Titan could, and I think it's because of the character cast. But hey, I'm just one guy, and that's what I think. I think Bleach is better than Attack on Titan. Then we have Blue Exorcist, which I'm going to give a B. This is a manga that I think got the shitty end of the stick, just in terms of my development and my love of anime manga, because when I was reading it, this was amongst my favorite series of all time, both the anime and the manga. But it was at a point in my life where I was just kind of turning away from battle shonen. You know, I started watching a lot of manga YouTubers, and, you know, the hype was all about the seinen manga, and so I didn't want to be the kid reading battle shonen anymore. And that ultimately led me to just kind of outright reject everything I was reading at the time, and Blue Exorcist was kind of the main punching bag for me at that time. I said, fuck Blue Exorcist, this shit is trash. And so I probably had 10, 11, 12 volumes of it. I sold all of it. I said, I don't want this fucking garbage anymore. And that was it. And that was the last of Blue Exorcist for a long time. But then once I returned to YouTube with the My Name is Doofy channel, I kind of took a 180 on the whole issue. I realized that I think it was more immature to kind of cast off Battle Shonen because, you know, it was perceived as immature. And I think once you give Battle Shonen that serious shake that I decided to do over the last year or two, you get a whole lot more out of it. And to me, it's been a much more enriching process. And so Blue Exorcist is fucking amazing. I love Rin Okumura. I love Yukiko Okumura. I love the whole, you know, Exorcist Academy. Again, this is just one of those things where I think it has a strong character cast and relatively solid storytelling. Now, I will say the characters I do like in this series are a lot less than, say, a Bleach. You know, I like Rin, I like Yukio. I also like, what's that guy with, like, the black hair, with, like, the blonde highlights? The son of the priest. His father was, like, died to the Impure King or something. I don't really remember. Or he died on the Blue Knight, maybe. But his family's involved in, like, maintaining the Impure King in the Kyoto Saga. I don't remember his name. He was also cool anyways. I like his dynamic with Rin. And I think that there's a lot of really interesting dynamics like that because, of course, Rin is the son of Satan and has inherited the blue flames. And a lot of the other side characters had lost a tremendous amount of their family, you know, really close and loved ones to the, you know, the Blue Knight when Satan's blue flames kind of ravaged the village. And so when they find out that Rin is the son of Satan, there's a lot of hesitancy to accept him as a friend still because motherfucker's the son of Satan, and Satan killed a lot of their family. But seeing them trying to work that out with one another, I think is just really, really well thought out, especially in the Blue Exorcist manga. I think the action sequences are really cool. Overall, it has a really great lore. I think that it draws a lot upon traditional Japanese lore, and it works itself into a really interesting way. I like its depiction of the kind of Japanese religious elements, because I think it has a really cool aesthetic, and I think that really helps build the world of Blue Exorcist. But this is definitely something that I hope to perhaps pick up in the future, especially now with having the Shonen Jump app, and I know the manga is on hiatus. So this could be a good time to catch up to, because I did recently watch the Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga. Well, recently, I mean like last 6 months. And it was fucking awesome, so I think I might want to kind of get back into Blue Exorcist. And then we have Build King, which is just going to be an easy F. FYI, one of the least funny and unoriginal, most outplayed jokes ever is saying that Build King is an S. I know just in saying that the comments are going to be filled with people saying Build King is an S, but like every time I see it, I fucking cringe because it's just such an outplayed joke and it's just so unfunny. It's not good. I think it's so fucking corny. Not that, well, I think the joke is too, but that was directed more so at the manga. The manga's so fucking corny. It's a world of builders, which I actually think could have been a cool idea. But the protag's a fucking dream as he wants to build peace. Holy fuck. I almost threw my fist through my screen when I read that. I thought that shit was so dumb. And this thing, I've never seen a manga with so much dialogue that says absolutely fucking nothing. It's a shame that the mangaka of Toriko has fallen to such fucking lows. And then we have Burn the Witch, which actually is also gonna fail the vibe check. I do not like Burn the Witch. I just don't think it's good. I think the story's so unimaginative. It's literally like, dragons come, let's stop the dragons. Which I don't think in itself is a terrible story idea, but it's just like Kubo does nothing to make it his own. I think the characters are so fucking forgettable. They're not even well designed, and that's like Kubo's best aspect, dude. Like, how did you fucking mess that up, Kubo? I think this is also more problematic than anything because he says it takes place within the Bleach universe. Because this is the fucking, like, London branch of the Soul Society. But it creates so many plot holes because the whole idea of the Soul Society is maintaining the balance between the souls, the good souls and the bad souls, like the souls and the living. Because without that balance, right, the imbalance is going to cause the one to collapse into the other, and that's going to cause chaos, right? The fucking witches are taught to just kill, right? To just fucking slay the dragons. Now, surely the dragons have some kind of effect on the balance of good and bad because the fucking Hollows do, the Ronkar do. So why wouldn't the dragons? Why would the dragons be exempt from that? Remember, this is in the Bleach universe. And if they're fucking trained to just slay them, that's going to cause an imbalance. This is literally the philosophy of the Quincy's, and the Soul Society took it upon themselves to fucking kill them all. Yet the Soul Society has sanctioned the witches. This is the fucking official branch of the... It's so fucking stupid. And it's such lazy writing. Like, by just saying that it takes place in the Bleach universe, you're expecting the reader to import everything they love about Bleach into the world of Burn of the Witch. That's fucking lazy writing, Kubo. You're just expecting people to buy into this because you put the Bleach logo on it. But it actually has nothing to fucking do with Bleach. And you know it doesn't. It's fucking dog shit. I hate Burn the Witch. I really hate Burn the Witch. It's a fucking awful manga. Kubo should have never done it. But you know what he should have done, and we're going to skip to the fucking good shit. He should have did Zombiepowder Infinity. Because Zombiepowder is actually a good fucking manga. Zombiepowder... It's really cool because you can actually see a lot of, like, the origins of Bleach in it. I mean, this exact cover, Kubo kind of played homage with I think volume 32. It's a cover with Grimjow on it, exact same positioning. It's very cool to see that kind of, a lot of the ideas in Bleach were kind of birthed in Zombiepowder. The problem with Zombiepowder, of course, was just Kubo wasn't entirely in control of its creation, to be frank. It's not that there were external factors that were like, you need to make this change or we will drop you. It was more so that they were like, we strongly recommend that you make this change because the editors obviously have a more concrete idea of what will sell. And so Kubo just wanted the manga to do good, and so he was kind of just doing whatever the editors told him to do. The obvious problem with that is if you don't have the kind of unity of a single author in mind, or two authors, you know, kind of working together on an idea, and you're just letting all these external things motivate you, I think that really shows in your manga. And that ultimately results in a much more disjointed kind of work. It doesn't really have the kind of cohesiveness that a single plotline as well thought out in a single mind has. And that's the main problem with the early chapters of Zombiepowder. And unfortunately, that was kind of the trajectory for a lot of the manga just generally. And by the time Kubo was kind of getting a footing and knew what he wanted to do, it was too late. This polls were very bad and got canceled. But those final chapters were actually, like, pretty solid all around. I think Kubo really did find his footing, and that's why he was able to really, I think, get on board with Bleach after, you know, a few mishaps. Most notably being rejected because it was too close to Yu Hakusho. Okay, but Zombiepowder is not actually an S tier. It's just a meme in my Discord, which you should join. Zombiepowder is I'm actually going to put it over, like, unironically, Black Torch and Barrage. Because, you know, I really do like the protagonist. They're trying to find the Zombiepowder, which is, like, I don't know, you get all 12 pieces and it does something cool. I actually don't remember very well. It's been quite a while since I've really sat down and enjoyed Zombiepowder. But it was actually, like, not an awful read. I kind of enjoyed it. Next we have Buso Renkin, which I really only read the first volume of. It's a manga by Watsuki, the mangaka behind Rurouni Kenshin. Nobuhiro Watsuki, I think is his name. Piece of shit person, Rurouni Kenshin, unfortunately, or fortunately rather for the readers, is a masterpiece. Buso Renkin, less so. I actually don't even think that it had an awful start. It's just super forgettable, and it's been so long since I've read it. I'm going to put it under Black Butler. That sounds about right. Then we got Candy Flurry, which is currently running in Weekly Shonen Jump, and is just fucking barely holding on. It's gonna be a low D for me. I was super into the idea when I first read it. I liked the idea of, you know, the candy being their weapons, and I like that they, you know, they had a little like the main girl is the lollipop user, but like the whole sweets epidemic happened with a fucking attack on Tokyo from a lollipop user, but like the clause in the show is that there could only be one user per sweet. And so there's obviously a tension between the fact that Tokyo was ravished by a lollipop user, yet our protagonist is a lollipop user. So she needs to prove her innocence, but she also needs to kind of keep it on the down low because she doesn't want to get, you know, interrogated. And her way of doing so is to join the kind of fucking sweet regiment or whatever. And there's an exam to get into it. And like I'm telling you, like all these ideas that I'm throwing at you are really cool. It's just in execution, the mangaka dropped the fucking ball. Like it's just such an unenjoyable read. Like I don't know, there's nothing interesting with the execution. It really just feels like the most basic and straightforward telling of these ideas, like, which sucks because, like, again, conceptually there's so many cool ideas here, but it's just not being actualized. So it's gonna be a low D, and honestly at this rate it's gonna be a fucking F. I'm not fucking with it. Next we have Claymore, which is gonna be an A for me. Claymore is a phenomenal battle shonen that I recommend everybody checks out. 26 volumes long, and honestly after like 3 volumes it's just fucking uphill for a long time. For me, this is almost in a similar ballpark to Attack on Titan in the sense that I think its world building is fucking phenomenal, and especially once you get through like that halfway mark, maybe it's around volume 14, 15, or 16, when that world just gets fucking boom upscaled a whole lot and it just gets filled in with a lot more lore. Like the world building is fucking phenomenal in Claymore. The problem is the character cast, because of their kind of similar appearance, it becomes difficult to distinguish between them, and a lot of their personalities aren't so distinguishable from one another. Now, protagonist Claire is rather distinct, and I think she's an awesome protag. Unfortunately, the majority of the cast is just kind of like, eh. There is that one guy, though, that accompanies Claire for a long time, which actually ends up taking a pretty interesting role in the story, who I do appreciate. But a lot of the other female casts are, yeah, whatever. But I think Claymore's fucking awesome. Again, it really thrives in terms of its world building. And I mean, essentially, Claymore follows a protagonist, Claire, who's a part of this organization responsible for killing Yoma, which are essentially these like flesh-eating demons. And so, you know, different members of the organization are sent to different areas to kind of take care of Yoma. And that's the kind of basic setup, but it very quickly turns from just this kind of episodic going to different locations to kill the yokai or the Yoma to, you know, questioning the kind of origins of the Yoma. How do they get here? What's the kind of metaphysics behind them? Like, how do they develop and evolve? And just the fights with them are incredibly well depicted. I think the art is fucking phenomenal in this series. And just the more we find about the Yoma and the organization and the world as it expands, it's some of the best world building in manga. There are some low periods, but I don't think that they're very long. I think the low periods happen around the middle. And maybe the first 2 volumes could be a little better. But by that 3rd volume, I'm telling you, it's already picking up the heat pretty fucking fast. And it's definitely a rewarding read. So if you haven't read Claymore, I do reckon you do so. Then we have Dragon Ball, specifically Dragon Ball Z, and more specifically the anime Dragon Ball Z Kai. I watched most of that. I think I watched everything up until the Cell stuff. I never watched the Cell stuff. I never watched the Boo stuff. So I'm going to be ranking it based off of that and the anime version, specifically Kai. Now, I actually like Dragon Ball. I don't talk about it enough because I just don't know it that well, but like I remember I was just thinking to myself yesterday, like if I could just relive my first time reading or watching rather those first like 2 arcs of Dragon Ball, like with Raditz and then Nappa and Vegeta, I thought those were awesome, right? And the stuff with Frieza, that shit was awesome. Like when I just reflect on it, like sure, as far as battle shonen go, its tropes hadn't developed far enough along to really have the complexity of later battle shonen. But goddamn, it's innovative for the fact that it brought together all these tropes for the first time. Like, don't get me wrong, there were other great battle shonen before, like Fist of the North Star, but I think Dragon Ball just got the formula right for the first time. It really just brought together all the elements that existed for a long time, but it just put them together in the right sequence, you know what I mean? And it really just brought a lot of these archetypes to life for the first time, and their dynamics. I really appreciate it. I'm going to give Dragon Ball a mid-C. A mid-C. Because I have nothing but positive things to say about it, and I have deep respect for the fact that it did start so much of this genre. But I just think that overall, you know what, maybe it didn't go far enough for me. Or maybe I didn't go far enough with it. Then we have Death Note, which is going to go just under Claymore. And what can I say? I love Death Note. By the way, it is totally a battle shonen. It does use battles to overcome obstacles. Battles, mind you, don't necessarily need to be physical. Psychological battles are certainly battles, and this is very much an action series in that regard. And dare I say, a battle shonen, hence why it's on this list. Now, I guess what I like about, Death Note, much like everyone, is the writing. Is just seeing how Light, or rather how L, tries to shake down Light to admitting he's Kira. Because on my reading, L knows, or rather, L is quite certain that Light is Kira. Now, certainty is a psychological state. That doesn't suffice for justification. That's rather an epistemological question. So it's a question of, I need to prove with evidence that Light is Kira. And so there's an interesting kind of back and forth between Light and L as kind of co-workers working on the Kira case, who both psychologically have antagonism toward each other, because of course L is confident that Light is Kira, and so he has to do things in their actual personal life to try and shake that out of him, while Light has to kind of put up the front. But in their professional roles, that is Light as Kira and L as investigator, we have just the kind of back and forth of an investigator and a criminal. The investigator doing the various things that he can to try and narrow down who it might be in terms of the evidence, and finding that justification to lock up Light. Now, let me tell you, even once the death of L, I'm very much a fan of this series. I don't honestly think that the trajectory of the series is worse after the death of Light, or L rather, simply because I just like seeing, I think that the second half of the series isn't so much about the detective aspects. Like, the things that we like about Death Note are the kind of clever ways that Oba gets L to shake down Light. But what I like about the second half is just watching kind of Light's descent into madness, you know what I mean? Just seeing the corruption get to him. And what can I say? I also like Nier and Mello quite a bit, even Mikami. I don't have nearly as many bad things to say about the second half as others do. And that's Death Note. That's an A for me. Very clever writing. Fucking two of the best characters in all Battle Shonen. Amongst others, I'd even say. But I think for me, some of the things that I just like in Battle Shonen is I like world building. And this type of story doesn't really utilize world building in the same way that like Claymore, Attack on Titan does. And for that reason, it's just a little lower, because that's more of a preference thing. But again, and the other thing, of course, is that Death Note is just one of those manga that like you never hear the end of. Like, I've read it once. I've watched like 2 or 3 times. It's honestly, it's great when you're watching or reading it. But I'm so fatigued from hearing about Death Note time and time again that it's just like, okay. Every time I think about it, it's just I'm like, okay, get on with it. So that does bring it down a little bit. But again, it's still fucking A tier. Then we got Deez Nuts, Demon Slayer, which I've only watched the anime for. I think I'm gonna just put it over Buso Renkin for now. I mean, I watched the anime, and I'm gonna say the same thing that everyone else says. What do you think that is? It's carried by animation and soundtrack. It is the least remarkable battle shonen imaginable. It you know what? It benefits from the overall development of the genre a lot. Because honestly, it does nothing but just fucking grab onto the already established and developed tropes and archetypes and just throws them together with a new look. And that's Demon Slayer. It does have at least one cool moment, in the anime. It's episode 17 or 18 when that one guy from the Demon Slayer corpse comes to save Tanjiro and Nezuko. That was a cool moment, and seeing Tanjiro go off to the academy to train was, slightly more engaging than everything before it, but holy fuck. This is just the least remarkable battle shonen imaginable. Like, I like Dragon Ball more. Both are simplistic tellings, they kind of have the same formula, but Dragon Ball innovated it, and there's a lot more energy behind it, I think. Demon Slayer just feels lazy to me. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just passively taking in the work of all the battle shows before it and thriving off of aesthetics alone, which is fine. But it's like, I don't even love the aesthetics that much. Then we got Deez Nuts Gray Man, which I've recently purchased a hell of the manga. Indeed, I've purchased the whole thing. I've read about 4 volumes now, and I had watched the first 50 episodes previously. And I will say that right now I am slightly underwhelmed by the manga. I think it's because I'm in that phase with the manga right now where it is kind of just in that episodic mode where it's just trying to establish characters and powers through little episodic events, and it's going to be later when it starts to build the overarching stuff. Like I know from the anime, even though it is filler, it does draw a lot from the manga, and there is more overarching stuff that I do care more about. I think that Alan Walker's an amazing character. I think that Yu Kanada's an amazing character. I like Lena Lee a lot. I like the Millennium Earl. There's again, it's characters. They're cool. I like the whole premise of the what's the corpse even called in this? I don't even remember. Holy fuck. The Exorcist corpse or whatever. I like their mission to go kill all the yokai, and I like, you know, that Millennium Earl are utilizing the yokai, and there's this big battle between good and bad, and I think it's fleshed out rather nicely in the manga. Oh, I also gotta say, I really love Alan Walker's, you know, Exorcist device, his arm, and the different transformations it has, and, you know, I love that it turns into the big sword later on, the Exorcist Slayer or whatever. I don't know, there's a lot of cool elements in here, and I am looking forward to seeing it develop. I think the Millennium Earl is pretty fucking badass. But for now, it's just going to be top of the seas until I read more. I think I feel pretty good in that. Next, we're going to put Deadman Wonderland just under the B's. I think in recent years, I've been more critical of Deadman Wonderland. I think I've charged it with being edgy for the sake of being edgy. But honestly, when I read it, it was fucking awesome. For one, I love the power system. I love the fact that they utilize fucking blood to make their, you know, their weapons. I love that it's a kind of like grudge match, that they're all thrown into this, you know, high security prison, you know, block G, and they're forced to kill or fight with one another, and the loser, you know, loses a body part or something. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in here. The art's also beautiful, by the way. I also love the whole fact that, well, you know what? Our protagonist, Jinta? Is it Jinta? I don't remember. Is being framed for all this. He didn't even do the killing, and he's being locked up in there. But he does actually inevitably develop the powers, or he always had them. I don't really remember anymore. And I don't know, just seeing them break out of the kind of prison block and them going through all like I believe they're called the Reapers, and then finally escaping in the end of the manga. The final fight between Jinta and, you know, the egg guy or whatever. Finding out more about the egg guy. It's actually badass. That's one of my favorite endings in all of manga, actually. I don't talk about that a lot. That final fight's really awesome. Like, there's this one panel where, like, Jinta and the egg person are like coming at each other in front of the moon. It's just this beautiful panel. I actually really like Deadman Wonderland. I don't know why I was so critical of it in the past, but honestly, it might even, dare I put it over Blue Exorcist? I think I will. I think I'm gonna put it over Blue Exorcist. Honestly, it was fucking awesome. I gotta give it more credit, man. It was great. Next, we have Eden Zero. I had only watched the first 10 episodes of the anime. I thought it had a strong start. I liked how forward Shiki was about, you know, his motivations just, you know, I want to make friends. And that kind of prevents Mashima from being charged with the whole, you know, it's all about friendship trope, because at least here it's an integral part of Shiki's character. And for what it's worth, I do quite like Shiki. I think he's a cool character. I love the Eden's Zero, or the Ether Gear rather, power. I think it's really cool. But I honestly think the more I reflect on it, I might like Fairy Tail more. I thought originally I might like Eden Zero more. And I do hear it gets really fucking awesome a little later down the line, but honestly, I'm just not there yet. And with where I am, it's not amazing. Do I like it more or less than Demon Slayer is really the question. I'm honestly gonna put it low C. Fairy Tail, however, I'm gonna put just under D Graving, because honestly, I don't talk about this. And I know I got into some shit on the fucking Overgrowth manga podcast for this one. I like Fairy Tail. I watched the first 50 episodes, whatever was on Netflix for the longest time, and I fucking loved it. I thought it was awesome. I love Natsu. I love Gray. Finding out about Gray's backstory was honestly like super moving to me. Natsu's quest to just find his father's cool. I love seeing Natsu develop his fire powers. I think it has some great battle sequences in here. I love the notion of the guilds. I think the fantasy world is pretty well done. I know people say that this is like the fucking the poor man's One Piece, but if Fairy Tail's the poor man's One Piece, then call me fucking bankrupt, dude. I like Fairy Tail, so fuck it. Then we got Fullmetal, which I haven't finished the manga yet. But if we're going off of you know, the best of Fullmetal Brotherhood, you already know that's going to be a high S. I mean, what do I need to say? This has everything that I want in a battle shonen. Amazing cast of characters. I've never seen a cast so full with so much development in all of my experience of anime and manga. Like, honestly, Ed and Al are fucking phenomenal. Winry has lots of development. I know a lot of people kind of miss that. But, like, for instance, consider her moment when she finally encounters Scar, the killer of her parents. She had the opportunity to kill him, and she just didn't. Which I think is just interesting, because she goes this all time, like, just prepping herself mentally for the fact that she's going to kill the murderer of her parents. And when she gets the opportunity, she just doesn't. And I think Ed puts it really nicely. And oh man, I cry every time I see the scene of the anime. He's like, Winry, these hands aren't for killing, they're for giving life. I'm almost crying now just fucking thinking about it. It's just such a beautiful scene. And then Winry just breaks down and the fucking ending song plays, Let It All Out. Man, I'm like honestly kind of fucking tearing up just remembering it. It's such an amazing scene. And then overall, Winry does I think, get a lot of development. Scar, I think, is tremendously well developed. Fuck, I'd even say King Bradley is well developed. I don't know, I could keep going on. I honestly love everyone in the series. Mustang, amazing development. Riza Hawkeye has some of my favorite ships in anime too. Like, I don't normally ship characters that much because I don't care for it, but like fucking Riza Hawkeye and Rory Mustang are my OTP, my one true pair, dude. Also fucking Ed and Winry. I mean, I go crazy over these guys. I'm just so invested in their like emotional or their romantic lives. Also amazing action sequences. I love, again, the lore, the world building, all the stupid stuff that I've said this whole video so far. I just think that Fullmetal does it like best. Like overall, does world building best. It does character cast best. Better than Attack on Titan by a long shot. I think Attack on Titan does foreshadowing better, but that's not to underestimate the excellent foreshadowing in Fullmetal. Let's do a little speed round. Like, what are the ones I can quickly get rid of? Let's start with 7 Deadly Sins, which I only read the first volume of. Honestly, I'm going to put it under Barrage. I didn't like 7 Deadly Sins. I couldn't tell you if a single thing that happened in it, but it's definitely better than fucking Candy Flurry, I'll tell you that. Rave Master is also, like, fucking... This is the thing. When I first read the first volume of Rave Master, I thought it was so fucking bad. Like, I just thought that it was really leaning on some of the most basic ideas you could possibly imagine. Literally, it's motivated by, you know, the powers of good versus the powers of evil. Like, it's literally like that black and white in this series. I think that the protagonist is so fucking flat. I actually think that it's a similar setup to like what goes on in Hunter x Hunter, with our protagonist lives in this kind of sheltered island that doesn't really know the state of the world, you know, only has a very limited view of the world, is very immature in his outlook on life and his morality. But I just think Hunter x Hunter does it a trillion times better. But I will say, when I read Mashima's Heroes and I saw a more mature depiction of the protagonist from Rave Master and the characters and his powers, I was slightly more interested. And for that reason, I do actually want to pass it. I wanted to pass the vibe check. But if I was going off of just the one volume I read of it, it'd probably fail. I'm actually just going to fail it, because honestly, it's... You know what? I don't want to fail it. I'll give it low D, because I do think that it has the possibility to redeem itself if I were to put more time into it, but it's just I didn't. Another fast one I could take care of is probably Hitman Reborn, which, again, I've only read like the first 3, 4, 5 volumes, but if you know anything about Hitman Reborn, those like first 6 volumes are known as the Slice of Life arc, and essentially it functions to introduce characters and powers through episodic means, through Slice of Life means. But Hitman Reborn has this peculiar quality because it actually wasn't originally intended to be a gag manga. It didn't want to be a battle shonen originally. That did change a little later, and that's why, so far as I can tell, once it does make the transition, people seem to like it. But it's just like the first 6 volumes hold it back so much for me. We can't ignore the fact that 6 volumes are just fucking dog shit. And that's literally the only like experience I have with it. And while I think it has overwhelming potential, I'm gonna just put it under Barrage. What's another quick one? Oh, Naruto. S. Highest of S's. Possible. You all know me. I'm not talking about Naruto anymore on this channel. Oh, we can do Rurouni Kenshin. I'll also... It's not much of a quick round, but I will put it maybe just above Claymore, or maybe just below. I would need to think a little more on it. It's been a while since I've really, read Claymore or watched it. Rurouni Kenshin, though, is rather fresh in my mind. I just finished the Jinchu arc about a few months ago, and that is probably my... first, second, third favorite arc in all of manga. The Jinchu arc, in my opinion, is everything that people love about the Kyoto arc, but just brought down to a more personal scale. Because no longer is it just this just general battle of philosophies between 2 guys that met on a battlefield. This is fucking personal. This is Kenshin and the brother of his former lover, and this brother Enshi holds such a grudge against Kenshin for what happened to his sister. Of course, it's kind of, this hatred is motivated by misunderstanding what really happened. But Kenshin still nonetheless has to bear the burden of having lost his former lover, and that responsibility falls on him. But he's also carrying the burden of, who he was in the past. Batosai, the manslayer, this absolute fiend on the battlefield, which he honestly struggles quite a bit with to really deal with. And I think his fight with Shishio during the Kyoto arc does kind of work out a lot of those issues for him. But unfortunately, I think it just gets really bad for him in the fucking Jinchu arc. We see Kenshin at his fucking absolute lowest in this arc. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil too much, but let me just tell you, Kenshin shuts down. He just fucking drops the sword. He turns off entirely, and it's really difficult to see. All of his friends try to convince him otherwise, like, come on, snap out of it. But he's a fucking zombie. Like, seeing him so low just because he crumbled under the pressure of all of the things that had happened to him. And Enshi is a fucking formidable foe. This dude honestly smacks the floor with Kenshin at multiple times. They have some of the best fights in all of manga in this arc. Kenshin versus Enshi, that final fight is fucking incredible because Enshi is so overwhelmingly powerful and it's not obvious how Kenshin could beat him. But honestly, it's not clear that even with his kind of Batosai mindset that he could defeat Enshi because Enshi is just a fucking beast. Enshi's probably my favorite antagonist of all time. It's incredibly well written. Please, if you like Rurouni Kenshin, if you watched the anime, if you watched at least up to the Kyoto arc, if you watched Trust and Betrayal, read the goddamn manga because this shit will blow your mind. Now, what holds it back for me? It's really that first arc that holds it back for me. The Tokyo arc, I guess it's called. Again, just so many other battle shonen, it's filled with kind of episodic adventures to introduce characters. And I think at that point, because it's a little more lighthearted, it really emphasizes, Kenshin's goofiness and lightheartedness, which I think does provide an interesting contrast to him as being the manslayer before in the past. And seeing him snap in and out of this is interesting, but it's still not my brand of comedy at that beginning point. I will just say that again, Kenshin overall is a phenomenal character, and I love the fact that he's just a mature fella already at the beginning of the series. Like, I know he obviously has his goofy side that he is really emphasized in the manga, but the fact remains that Kenshin is already an adult, and so the development we see in the manga isn't, and this is what I mentioned in a video I did with One Punch Manga, or rather One Great Manga War. What we find is it's not a development from immaturity to maturity, like in many battle shonen. Like we normally see Naruto, he starts off immature and then he matures over the course of the series. Kenshin's already an adult. He's already mature, honestly. And indeed, he's incredibly mature for taking it upon himself to repent for all of his sins in the past. But what we see is a development from maturity to maturity. And it doesn't have to be this kind of, upwards from immature to mature. And since we're already on that level, the development we see is him working out his problems like an adult. And I think that's just much more interesting than a lot of other battle shonen. It's fucking awesome. So please read Rurouni Kenshin. It's a masterpiece, honestly. I just think that first arc holds it back a little bit, but like once you hit Kyoto arc, it's all fire. I mean, Saito, I guess this is kind of just before the Kyoto arc during the Tokyo stuff, but like Saito versus Kenshin is another fucking phenomenal fight that's very well drawn. And just seeing Kenshin almost snap back into his Batosai manslayer mode, again, that, if anything, does reveal that he is still under immense pressure at the beginning of the series to deal with all of the sins in the past, and he's not totally in control of his life. And that lack of control is very problematic for Kenshin, because he just wants to alleviate all of his sins. He wants to do good, but he can't even get total control on his psyche, because in that situation against Saito, he snapped back to the Batosai. And that was fucking awesome. One of the most bone-chilling moments in all of manga. And there's lots of moments like that in Kenshin, so please do check out Rurouni Kenshin if you haven't already. Get Backers is a relatively forgettable series. I watched like 13 episodes and it was whatever. Where the fuck does it land, though? Also, I'm thinking I'm gonna make that move now. I was thinking too much about it. Get Backers, where do you belong? Maybe like just lower than Reborn. I don't know. It's a hard call for me. And we have Hunter x Hunter. I'll put it at a high B. I've only watched the anime. I mean, I've read a few of the volumes before, and I do plan on, finishing the manga. It's a high B. There's just so many slow parts in the series that hold it back for me, you know what I mean? I think the initial build-up is... I like the depth that Togashi goes into. I like that we know every fucking detail of that island before Gon even leaves it. But it's just problematic to me, because it just takes its time too much, and I think that doesn't translate into a super... exciting read, and I'm all about excitement, to be honest. I can appreciate good writing, but if the good writing is just so overbearing and so slow, it just becomes problematic. I thought the Hunter exams were fun. York New's fucking awesome. I like what it does with Kurapika's character arc. Chimera Ant is, it's all right. Again, my problem is just that, to put it in perspective with the anime, it's 60 episodes long, and I've said this a trillion times before, but I feel like if it was 30 episodes, it would have been fucking twice as good, because I just feel like a lot of the build-up is unnecessary. I frankly do not care about Meruem learning a fucking board game, in a matter of moments. It's not interesting to me. I know you could argue it's important for his character, but I don't know. I feel like there's probably better ways to have done it. Do I know those better ways? Absolutely not. I have immense respect for Togashi's very careful writing. But again, I just think that it's that careful writing that ends up becoming problematic, because even when we get info on the Nen system, it becomes so overbearing because Togashi has it so worked out that he wants to make sure that that translates to the reader, and his only way to do that is essentially info dumping. And that's not fun to read. That's simply just not fun to read. So, and I mean, you know what? Yeah, I'll concede that Chimera Ant-arc has some amazing highs. Gon's rage in his fight with Pito, or Netero versus Meruem, awesome. And I do like Meruem as a character. These are great moments. Or the dragon dive with Killwa's grandfather as they enter the kind of the castle of Meruem. These are really cool. I like these moments. But there's just so much slow burn. It's fucking painful. And a lot of Hunter x Hunter to me is that. Another thing that holds it back for me is character cast. Like I don't love Gon. I'm I've turned a leaf to him a little more recently. I am more forgiving of him than I was perhaps in the past. I do think there's an interesting angle to explore with Gon's kind of childish outlook and how he seems to have, good intentions in prioritizing his friends, but I think that manifests into a kind of narrow and ill-informed morality. I also don't really like Leorio, to be honest. I love Killua and Gon. After, Chimera Ant, and especially with the 13th chairman election arc, that was awesome. It has some amazing antagonists. Crollo, Meruem, Pearston. I really like Pearston. And as he's been described to me from manga readers, in the manga, he has a more cynical role. He seems to be more like the Joker, and I think that's an incredibly amazing angle that the anime didn't explore enough, and I would like to know more about, and that's why I am motivated to read more. And it is, don't get me wrong, this is a high B, and I'd even say that the difference between Hunter x Hunter and Deadman is rather significant, but I can't give it that A, man. I can't give it that A. My Hero Academia? I've only watched the first season. I did enjoy it. But the more I reflect on it, the less I'm interested. I'm going to give it a low B, though. Noragami, it's like, I watched the first season of the anime, and I enjoyed it, but it's like, eh. I think there's some, again, cool ideas in there. Yato being a god with no worshippers or no temple, and so he's just motivated to get money by any means to get that fucking temple. It's funny. I think it is actually funny. And I like Yato as a character. But maybe I just didn't go far enough. Maybe I need to watch season 2. Maybe I need to read some of the manga that I own of it. As it stands, it's probably just above Demon Slayer, below Black Butler. Next we have One Piece, which I watched 30 episodes, maybe read a volume or so of my day. And I honestly don't even want to rank it. Because if I were to rank just those 30 episodes I've seen, I think I'd get so much shit. Like, let me get this straight. Like, I think conceptually One Piece could probably be like an S tier, like possibly an A tier, an S tier. And like, listen, if I was gonna consume it, it would probably be by the manga right now, because yes, I everyone fucking says it. The anime has pacing issues. I just did not like the first 30 episodes. I don't feel like I'm invested in the characters. I frankly do not like the art direction. I don't even like the whole pirate thing. And I know these are superficial complaints, but like, at some point, that's all I have much to say about a series when I've only seen the 30 episodes. If we're gonna be fucking honest, based off those 30 episodes, under Dragon Ball. I don't know, man. Just come at me, I guess. Psyren was actually fucking awesome. 16 volumes got canceled on the 16th. I honestly only read like the first 5 volumes, but it was so fucking like phenomenal to me. I was surprised at how good it was. I could see how it ran into problems though, because even after the first 5 volumes, I'd noticed it started to get like noticeably repetitive. But I thought it had an incredibly interesting world and power system worked out. I love the protagonist. There's a lot of cool things about Psyren. So much so I'm gonna give it like a C just under D Gray Man. I honestly probably even liked it more than D Gray Man, but it's just so fucking distant in my mind, and I only did read the first 5 volumes, so. Sakamoto Days, I mean, this barely qualifies as an action series. I guess not. I mean, Sakamoto is an assassin after all, and right now in the manga, in chapter 32 or whatever, he's in a bit of a conflict with these other assassins or whatever, so it's, it's pretty action oriented. I enjoyed reading it when I was binging it. I thought it was really fun, but like on the week by week basis, it's just not it for me. That's why I'm kind of like saving up some chapters to read. And honestly, its particular brand of comedy isn't like super for me. Sakamoto Days under Black Butler. I like Black Butler more. Shaman King. I read the first 3 I read the first 3 volumes. I watched the original anime and I watched the first 10, 11 episodes of the 2021 remake. and it's incredibly disappointing. I don't know. In my mind, I guess this is the rose-colored the rose-tinted glasses coming through. But like in my mind, Shaman King was fucking badass. Like I had so much fun watching that original anime. I love Yo as a character. I love Akitamaru. I love that it's just a tournament series. But like the fights just aren't that well done, to be honest with you. Like even in the manga, like they're not fucking amazing. And there's just, I don't know, I want more overarching stuff. I want more development. I want, a more elaborate power system. Like, maybe it gets that later on, but like, where I am in the manga and with the remake and, the old anime. This is, unfortunately, one of those series that benefits a lot from nostalgia, and I'll be pretty upfront about that. But, after turning back to it, I am rather disappointed. But I'm still going to put it over Sakamoto Days. Because the nostalgia is strong on this one, I'm not going to lie. And I'm definitely open to including that in my evaluation. Smokin Parade, a manga by the creators of Deadman Wonderland. And it feels like it, man. It's equally as gory. The art style is very similar. Again, it actually just feels like Deadman Wonderland with a different skin. This time we have like a different organization that somebody happens upon because of an event that happened with his sister, and they gave him animatronic parts or something, and that you can use in blah blah. It's honestly pretty forgettable, but it's definitely no Deadman Wonderland, but it's still like pretty solid. I probably liked it more than One Piece, less than Dragon Ball. Soul Eater, I've only watched the anime. It has that notoriously bad ending, but again, this is one that I look upon rather favorably because it's one I saw a little earlier. I am disappointed that, I thought it had a cool concept at the beginning, 99 souls and the witch soul. It sucks that they kind of dropped that so early on. It feels like that becomes like a background thing. I have a lot of problems with the characters, honestly. Black Star is just such a fucking poor... It's like everything you don't like about Naruto as a character, in a character. Excalibur is probably the worst character I've ever seen in all of anime and manga. I hate how goofy, Death is. Though that does make the contrast to when he becomes serious much more meaningful, I will say. So I like when he is serious and he fights Demon Ashura and, he uses his Death Scythe, Maka's dad. I think that's really cool. Soul and Maka are cool. I like them. They have a fun dynamic together. Stein's another cool character. I don't know. It has lots of fun designs, I'll say. And I like a lot of the other Death Scythes. I can remember when Demon Ashura is, awakening, and so Death calls in all the Death Scythes. I remember Justin Case was one of them, and I just thought, his character was super cool. But yeah, I think the best thing I can say about this is that I had fun watching it, and that's about it. I mean, it was by Bones, and I love Bones. That's some of my favorite animation of the 2000s. Some great animation on the action sequences in particular. Again, it's a fun art style. But all that said, where's it going to land? I'm going to put it over Dragon Ball. We got Tokyo Revengers. I really enjoy the manga, though. It's fucking awesome. I think it has the reverse problem of Attack on Titan, is the way I've kind of conceived of it. I did a whole manga log where I talked about this, so I'm not going to go in much depth. But I think what this does very good is it has a really great, full, and well-developed cast of characters. And that's something that I really enjoy. And I really like the time travel mechanic. I like watching Takemichi just trying to fix the problems in the present by going in the past. But I think what I really like about this is he goes in the past, he thinks that he solved it, he goes back into the future, and like something bad happens again. So it's like, oh, I didn't go to the full extent that I needed to. So I go back in the past and try and fix. And I don't know, I think the writing's kind of nice in that regard. But again, it's for me, it lacks a bit of world building. Now, this isn't a series that necessarily needs world building, much like Death Note. It's just not the type of story that benefits from it. It's not that kind of story. Unfortunately, world building is just something I really look forward to in a lot of battle shonen, and so the fact that it's not in Tokyo Revengers, not that it needs to be, but just the fact that it's not there does hold it back for me a little bit. And so I'm going to put it under Attack on Titan, because I mean, at the end of the day, there were some really great moving moments in Tokyo Revengers, which is something that I can't say necessarily of Attack on Titan. And again, the character cast is better, but I just, the foreshadowing, the world building, the lore in Attack on Titan is more interesting to me. The whole concept in Attack on Titan generally is just better to me. But I still fucking love Tokyo Revengers, don't get me wrong. Toriko. I watched the first 32 episodes. This was something I watched with some of my friends in high school, and this was just one of the funnest experiences I had in all of watching of any anime. It was so fucking fun. I like the gourmet chef thing. I like that they go out into the wild, and it's this really rich world with these really interesting looking creatures, and they have to find them, kill them, and get their meat or whatever for the chefs to cook them. And the gourmet hunters rather, not the gourmet chefs, the gourmet hunters, and it was a really cool setup. I like the characters, I like Toriko, I like the Piccolo looking guy, I like the who I called the Kurama looking guy. I don't know, I thought it had a fun character cast, fun setup. What more do you want from me? Now, it wasn't fucking mind-blowingly good, but this is definitely something that if I could pause time and just watch anything, I'd probably watch Toriko. It was just so fucking fun. Honestly, I'm putting it under D grade, man. Yeah, I like Toriko more than Soul Eater, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Shaman King, Black Butler, all of them. Yeah, I fucking enjoyed Toriko. Now, thankfully, we're getting to the last few here. Yu Hakusho, I'm just going to start from the back end now. High B, if not low A, honestly. Should I give it low A? I'm going to give it low A. One of my favorite character casts in all of anime. I mean, with the protags, Yusuke, probably top 3 anime protagonists for me. I also love Hiei and Kurama and Kuwabara. A very, very solid main cast. And then don't get me started with the villains, like younger and older Toguro, amazing. I love younger Toguro. And then we have Shinobu Sensui. Oh, what a fucking antag, bro. I like Sensui like much more than Nero. I'm just gonna fucking say it. I think Sensui is a fucking amazingly written protag. I mean, like, again, it's much like Rurouni Kenshin, and much like every other manga from that time. It does have that slower kind of battle shonen opening, but like once you get into it, man, it's like from the start of that Dark Tournament onwards, it's fucking phenomenal. And let me tell you, from an animation perspective, Yu Yu Hakusho still holds up, and I think it's doing things that battle shonen can only dream of doing in terms of choreography. The Dark Tournament is the tournament arc. Well, except for maybe the Naruto Chunin exams. That's a whole other thing, though. I'm super sympathetic towards Naruto for obvious reasons. Yeah, I don't know what more you want me to say. I think it's a fucking amazing series. I'm getting burnt out, as you can tell. I don't have much to say anymore. So we're gonna speed through some of these now. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX B on top of Hunter x Hunter. Original Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the anime, by the way. I've only read like 3-4 volumes of the manga. I used to read it in Shonen Jump, but I didn't get a kind of cohesive front to back reading of it because I was just reading whatever was available in that issue. But Yu-Gi-Oh! GX I do generally like more than Hunter x Hunter. It's my controversial take, and it has been for a long time. 5 Deez. 5 of Deez nuts. I don't know, let's do Waqwaq first. Waqwaq, just over Barrage. I talked about it in a manga log. Go watch that if you're more interested. Ultimo, by the mangaka behind Shaman King and Marvel's Stan Lee. Only really read the first volume, despite me owning 3 of them. Probably put it just next to Shaman King, to be honest with you. Honestly, I might reread those 3 volumes and give a better, more concrete evaluation. But for now, put it just below Shaman King. And then finally, we have the 2 Yu-Gi-Ohs. Oh my god, I don't know where to fucking put these. I'm talking about the animes again, by the way. I honestly don't know where to put them. I'm gonna put them right here. I fucking love Yu-Gi-Oh, man. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. So this is the list. I'm feeling pretty good about it. S tier, Naruto, Beck, Fullmetal, Bleach. A tier, AOT, Tokyo Revengers, Rurouni Kenshin, Claymore, Death Note, Yu Yu Hakusho. B, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Hunter x Hunter, Deadman Wonderland, Blue Exorcist, My Hero Academia. C tier, Psyren, D. Gray Man, Toriko, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fairy Tail, Black Cat, Soul Eater, Dragon Ball, Smokin Parade, One Piece, Shaman King, Ultimo, Black Butler, Sakamoto Days, Noragami, Demon Slayer, Buso Renkin, Eden Zero. D tier, Zombiepowder, Waqwaq, Barrage, Black Torch, Hitman Reborn, Get Backers, 7 Deadly Sins, Candy Flurry, Rave Master, and F tier, Burn the Witch, and Build King. So that's the list. I didn't include anything that I've only read like 1 chapter of, or any one-shots, so that's why like Black Clover isn't here. I've only read the 1 chapter, or like, I don't know, any one-shot you could name that I've read. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to stream My Dead Friends on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, links in the description. Thank you again for 600 subscribers. Shout out to my Patreon J-Chip. I know I forgot to shout you out for the last few episodes. My bad. Check out our Yu-Gi-Oh! Progression series if you like Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, we're kind of in the midst of that right now. Links in the description. Otherwise, this is a long video, and if you're still watching this, comment Blue Onion. Peace.